light within my heart, light within my thoughts, light within my words. May one and all and everything, blessed and loved, ever be. Welcome. I am Sister Who. Today I just wanted to share some thoughts and reflections on, well, the idea of trying to do one's best with confidence, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed, or maybe, according to a Buddhist perspective, one doesn't want to be attached to the outcome, to show up and do your best and trust that whatever needs to happen will happen, but to know that you made your best contribution to it. In doing some reading for one of my doctoral papers, I was reading through some of the writings of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. One of the points of belief he advanced was that the universe itself is a moral universe, that because God is real, the universe is a moral universe, and because of which, no matter what happens, the universe cannot tolerate something happening that contradicts its morality, which I guess is very close to the basic idea of karma. You know, that even if nobody is enforcing it per se, the very character of the universe itself will take care of enforcement of genuinely moral dynamics continuing to happen. In showing up and making your best contribution, doing your best, having some confidence perhaps that you are doing your best, and even that can be a real challenge. There's nothing that needs to be accepted simply because I said it. If the idea cannot stand on its own merit, then it deserves to be questioned, but hopefully at the very least it will inspire a dialogue of some sort so that greater wisdom could somehow come through. And that at the end of the dialogue, regardless of what opinion anyone phrased at the beginning, everyone in the discussion will be wiser. You know how many conversations we've all been in where when the conversation is over, we think of the thing that we should have said. Well, yeah, that's what I should have said, but of course there's no way to go back in time and put that into the conversation. So finding a way, I guess, to trust that the basic moral character of the universe, to which Archbishop Desmond Tutu referred, would take our humble best offering, our best, most sincere, most beautiful contribution we could create, and hopefully be able to use it in a way that makes the universe better for everyone, that lifts us up, that lifts those around us up, that in a sense becomes more than the sum of its parts. That I give something to a situation, the situation has some resources, but what comes out of the situation is so much greater that it's hard to believe it was composed of nothing more than the simple ingredients of which it was actually composed. It would be analogous, I suppose, to someone going to perform a song. And we know they're a good singer, and we know they've had years of musical training. We know they know the song, and they show up and they sing. But it's not just a perfect performance scientifically and musically, and it's not just that they hit every note exactly on pitch. If they are all able also to put feeling and emotion into the song so that the meaning of the song moves people in the audience, and at the end of the song people may have tears streaming down their cheeks, or may be leaping to their feet in a standing ovation and cheering as loud as they can, that somehow it was more than just the notes, it was more than just the sounds. It was a transference of emotion, a transference of faith, a transference of inspiration, that, to where even the person who did the performance, seeing a recording afterwards, may look with wonder at the recording and say, wow, did I do that? It's the sort of thing that would inspire Michelangelo when they asked him about the statue of David to disavow that he was responsible or that he could take credit for the statue of David. Instead, he simply said, I didn't carve David, I released him from the stone. As far as Michelangelo was concerned, the statue of David was already in there. It was just obscured by all the other rock and non-essential stuff around it. Though, jumping to another but related metaphor, one that I've used sometimes in the past, the idea of sending a valuable gift in a box as a present to someone. And the person receives the box and opens it and starts pulling out all this wadded up newspaper. Well, the newspaper was essential packing to protect the fragile object within. And if it has done its job well, the fragile object has made it to the destination without being broken. The newspaper had to be there in order to keep the valuable object safe. But it was nothing more than crumpled newspaper. It wasn't anything beautiful or impressive or valuable. It was just simply padding. In a similar way, as we go through life, there's a lot of things that are just simply padding for all the other valuable stuff. It doesn't really matter which house we live in or what shoes we wear or what clothes we wear. What matters is the mind and the heart, the soul, the spirit that is journeying through this life experience. And all of the stuff around it simply becomes the packing material. Not terribly important in and of itself, but it does need to be there in order to convey, to transport this unique and special person toward a certain destination or goal, toward a certain accomplishment. In a similar sort of way, when we talk about having the confidence to do your best in a situation where the outcome is not guaranteed, to do your best in a situation where you may not even think yourself the most qualified person for the job, but for whatever reason, you're the one who's been asked to do it. And so it's important to show up and to do your best. And in order to do your best, you have to believe in yourself. You have to have enough faith in yourself to really do your best and not be doing everything tentatively, not putting an object out and then pulling it back, or trying to nail a board onto the side of a frame structure and you tap the hammer, or you take the hammer and tap the nail, but not too hard because you're not really sure of yourself. Instead to approach with confidence and to hit that nail soundly and solidly and drive it where it needs to go, to attach that board securely. To do it with confidence and not to hold back. In a similar sort of way, when I was in a theatrical school in New York City quite a number of years ago, at one point I was advised to make your mistakes with confidence and the audience won't notice. Not that the mistakes don't matter, that they shouldn't be avoided whenever possible, but the point being that having confidence, having, not a deceptive or feigned or false confidence, but a real confidence, a real belief and faith in yourself, a real belief and faith in your ability, that as good or poor as your performance might be, that you give it 100% of what you have to give. That you don't hold back when you're out there performing, that you let your voice ring, and that it not be a voice pushing through a filter of self-consciousness, through a filter of doubt in oneself, through a filter of faithlessness, but instead to simply say, whether I'm the best in the world or not, I'm the one who's here, I'm the one who's supposed to sing the song, and I'm going to do it with everything I've got to give it. I'm going to do it to my very best ability. And having done your best, at that point to accept that some people will give a negative critique, some people will give a positive critique, but the critique that really matters is not so much whether you achieve perfection as whether you achieve total presence, whether you were there and gave your best and did your best and served the work and then let it go and let people make of it what they will. That their enjoyment or lack thereof of your performance doesn't change the positive intention and the love and the dedication with which you approach the work. I have to believe when we do that, that good things can happen. Most of the people with whom I've spoken, in fact, would tell me that usually what does happen is even better than what you imagined. Because sometimes, not always, because life doesn't come with any guarantees, sometimes the universe will respond to your confidence with an opportunity that you'd never considered, with a reward or a blessing or a megaphone, if you will. There's some sense in which the universe gathers around your voice like a big cone so that every word you speak goes 10 times further than it ever would have. Perhaps one of the examples in my own time is a few years ago when Susan Boyle appeared within a television competition talent show called Britain's Got Talent, and she walked out on stage as this totally undiscovered 47-year-old woman from some small collection of villages in the UK, and everyone thought it was a total joke because she was so wacky and goofy and unpolished and casual in just being herself on stage. But when they started playing the music, she demonstrated that part of who she was this incredible voice that could sing with absolute conviction, and in literally seconds the entire audience was on their feet cheering. And when that recording of that performance hit the internet, within the first couple weeks, I think it was, they had 20 million viewers all over the world, and the entire world is raving about this woman's performance. And I think a lot of it was because her appearance suggested she wouldn't be able to do what she did. That people were judging the book by its cover, as much as the old adage says, don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody did. And that made the resulting performance so much more amazing. And for my part, I guess I'm very thankful that the universe was a genuinely good universe behind her and finally gave her the chance. That when nobody else would give her a chance, the universe finally orchestrated the circumstances to where it was as if God or the universe said, the world has ignored you too long. Now it's going to sit up and take notice. And 20 million people in the first couple weeks saw the performance and played it over and over and over and over again. And may still be playing it because it is an incredibly inspirational performance. Any one of us could do as well. But the invitation that is out there for all of us is to show up with confidence, believing in ourselves, and trusting that if we persevere, if we play through all the way to the end of the game, if we don't quit, just keep going, keep going, keep going, no matter who laughs, no matter what derogatory remarks they make, to show up and contribute your best, that the most wondrous, miraculous things can happen. You know, and Susan's whole professional life literally began with that audition. You know, and I have to wonder, what if she hadn't been allowed to participate in an audition? What if somebody would have taken one look at her and eliminated her from the competition beforehand so that we never got to hear her sing? On one hand, we wouldn't know what we missed. On the other hand, a priceless treasure might have passed away into time. But the question that Archbishop Desmond Tutu's principle of perceiving the universe as a moral universe, the question that presents to us is whether the universe would have allowed her to escape into anonymity, or if the universe would have provided some other opportunity, because one way or another, the beautiful gift of Susan's voice was going to be shared, was going to be given to the world, and was going to touch millions of lives. So so often people are tempted to think, well, that's because so-and-so is someone special. I'm no one special. At one point in time, Susan was no one special. At one point in time, I hadn't done a single public access television show. Now we're getting very close to doing episode number 300. At one time, way back when I had completed only 55 shows, there was some concern that the whole thing would come to an end and there wouldn't be any more shows. Now here we are just about up to 300, and who would have guessed? Is it the quantity that makes the difference? I would say no. It's not that we're almost up to 300. It's the range of topics and the depth of spirituality and the thousands of lives that have been touched and the guests who I have been honored and privileged to share with you. It's all of this coming together so that the combined blessing, the final blessing, is more than I could ever legitimately take credit for. That like Michelangelo, I would just have to say, I'm just the servant of the work. I don't control the work. I don't determine what it's going to do or not do. I'm just the servant of the work. But to be an effective servant of the work, you have to show up with confidence. And you have to believe in yourself enough to recognize that if God or the divine or the universe chose you to contribute to a particular moment within a particular situation, that higher wisdom quite possibly was not making a mistake, but may have seen something in you that you didn't even see in yourself. It's kind of, well, it reminds me of the saying from Mother Teresa, God gives his most difficult jobs to those whom he trusts the most. However, I wish he didn't trust me so much. Recognizing that the challenges she faced were extremely difficult ones, but they were extremely important ones, and in the end, it seems, for the most part, significantly successful ones. There are aspects of Mother Teresa that are very difficult for some people to grapple with, even for me to validate also. Nonetheless, she showed up, she did the best she could. She once said it wasn't about being an exceptional person, it was simply to go somewhere, see what you can do, and do it. There's a lot of people who, first of all, don't go, some people who do but don't see, some people who go and see but don't do. And she said it's all three. It's going somewhere, seeing what good you can do, and then being faithful to do it. To participate in anything, to show up and, with confidence in yourself, with confidence in the fact that the universe or God picked you to do this job, and consequently, since you were picked out of all the other possibilities, that means that there wasn't something stupid about that. There was something very wise about that. That God knew what he was doing, that the universe knew what it was doing, that Providence or whatever name you want to give it to it, knew what they were doing when they picked you to do an appearance or a presentation or a contribution within a particular context. So, not dismissing that vote of confidence or that validation from a higher power, it makes all the more sense to show up and say, well, if they picked me, then I will give the best that I have to offer. And to show up and do that best, to hold nothing back, to give what one can. I once said the value is not so much in the skill, but is in the participation. Skills can be learned, but whether one participates or not, whether one is willing to show up, immediately distinguishes one from literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who didn't show up. Does it make any of us more special than anyone else? Yeah, that might be stretching it. It does make us the one who showed up, however. And it does make us the one who will hopefully be remembered as having shown up. It does give us the unique opportunity to make a contribution that no one else can make. If we do it with confidence, if we do it with the awareness that the opportunity has been given to us by somebody much wiser than us, and that we have now responded with the initiative to be there, and that the universe is committed to making everything right, even if it doesn't happen in that exact moment. That if we show up and do the incredible performance, and for God knows what reason the judges of the competition decide to overlook us or dismiss us or talk down to us, that will be an issue that they will have to take up with the divine or with the moral universe at some point. But that there is still something good that came out of that by the fact that you were there to be a presence, to bear witness to something way above average in terms of the meaning and importance and significance of the occasion. I've often joked that I want to live to be 100 and go skiing to celebrate, but I think at the rate I'm going I might make it. But again, it's not about beating somebody else. It's about having the confidence to believe in yourself and in the fundamental moral character of the universe, to do the right thing, not because anyone says you have to, but because it is the right thing, and because you know it to be the right thing, and because you know that ultimately love and wisdom prevail. There was a movie starring the actress Judi Dench in which she says that, you know, there's always a happy ending, and if you haven't got to the happy ending, the story's not over yet. Keep going. Don't give up. Don't quit. Keep going. I guess as we wind up this discussion of doing one's best without guarantees, without attachments, without expectations, doing one's best simply because it is the best one can do, it's, you know, somehow when I grew up I got the sense from somebody, I don't remember anyone ever saying it, but I got the sense from something that there is a sense in which you sign your name to whatever you do. And I understood early, therefore, that you should only do things to which you are willing to sign your name. If it's something that you would ever in any way be ashamed of, don't do it. It's simply not worth the honor of your own name. There's a sense in which you sign your name to whatever you do, so you should only do things that you really want to be associated with your name. Even if nobody notices, even if there is no applause, even if you don't get the medal, you will be the one to end the day with no regrets. Imagine, if you will, that the sun in the sky is a real person. But from the perspective of the sun, if you were the sun, you've been hanging in space for millennia, more incomprehensible amount of time, sending your light out in every direction. But everywhere you look is darkness. Everything is so far away. There's no one or nothing you can touch. And you have no idea how many beings are absolutely dependent upon your light. And yet, because the universe, the moral universe, God's universe, if you will, embraces you, you go on being yourself, and as yourself, shining whatever light you can for as long as you can. Millennia after millennia. And because that unconditional generosity continues, billions of other lives on all sorts of distant planets continue and thrive and rejoice in your light. You just don't necessarily know it. If each of us is potentially a sun in a universe, God may be doing incredible amounts of good through us, of which we will never be aware, but none of the good will for that reason be any less real. So know that you are special, shine your light, and trust that it really is all very good. Thank you for watching.